This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House.
I'm Sal Maiorana from the Democrat and Chronicle, and I will tell you why the NFL has driven me nuts once again.
I'm Dan Moriarty from Fox Sports 1280, a great quarterback adding to his great legacy.
And I'm Mike Catalana. Do as I say, not as I do.
And I'm Bill Pucko. We'll look into the CTE scare. Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the mighty Genesee Brew House. I'm Bill Pucko. Happy to be joined by Dan Moriarty, WHTK.
Thanks for having me.
And Mike Catalana, co-host from
Good to
WHAM
be back.
News. And it's good to have Sal Maiorana back. And from the DNC, obviously, Buffalo Bills beat for how many years now?
1990, so whatever, 26?
That'll work.
26 or 27, whatever.
Most of the guys, and with all respects to John DeTulio, who gathered you guys together and called yourself the Bills Brothers how many years ago, we wanted to talk Super Bowl. So, Sal, let's talk about it. Do you like seeing Carolina playing Denver? It's a good matchup.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a good matchup. I think Carolina is really on a roll, so I'm not quite sure how good the game will be. I think Denver's defense is very good, so I think they'll have a chance. But I just think this Carolina team, they're kind of a team of destiny, the way they've played and the way Cam Newton has played all year. I do like the matchup, though, and like everybody, kind of just hoping for a good game, and it's competitive.
Yeah, it was better than I thought it would be, because at the talk at John's party, we were all together talking about, New England's got to make it because that's the compelling story. Mm-hmm. I don't mind that we have what we have here.
Well, especially after the performance defensively that the Broncos had against the Patriots. I'm not counting them out again. I counted them out in that game. I couldn't have been more wrong. Their defense is exceptional, and with their secondary, that'll allow them to kind of stack the box against this running game for Carolina. So they might be the one team that can slow down this offense, especially the running game of Carolina and the running game of Cam Newton. I mean, they've got some beasts up front, and they're not afraid to let him run the ball, especially up the middle, which is something we're not typically used to seeing from a quarterback. Yeah. But with their strength in the secondary, they might be able to stack the box against this team. They're really good defensively. They sold me after that performance against the Patriots.
Trent Dilfer and Peyton Manning. We can put them together.
Game managers.
I am not being, it's not hyperbole here to say this. Now, obviously, their careers are disparate. I mean, they're not even close. But at the moment, that is what Peyton Manning is doing. And the reason I say that is a spectacular defense. That is an attacking, give Wade Phillips all the credit in the world. He has taken what he had there and made them even better than they were. They get after the quarterback. They rely on their defense. The quarterback, now, he's a brilliant mind, and he's using every bit of that. He's the pitcher down to the end, doesn't have the fastball at all, but he's trying to be smart, keep the ball in the park, and let his guys make plays. That's what he's doing. But this really is a case of very limited quarterback play. What Denver can't do is get way behind. I don't see them coming back from a big deficit, but I think they're staying in the game because I think that defense is going to play great.
I take some of the pressure off Manning being cast in this role. He doesn't feel he has to shoulder everything.
Well, I'm not sure he's ever had a defense like this throughout all of his time in the league. This is by far the best defense. Like Danny said, that New England game, they sold me. I thought New England was going to win that game pretty easily, and that defense played phenomenal. Tom Brady, I'm not sure he's still recovered, or he's recovered from that beating he took. So I see the same thing happening in this game. They'll get pressure. The difference is Cam Newton's not Tom Brady. That's what concerns me about this game.
Well, you mentioned Tom Brady. You mentioned Trent Dilfer and Peyton Manning. You can kind of compare it to Tom Brady, his first go-around in the Super Bowl. That defense was exceptional for the Patriots. Tom Brady wasn't asked to do a whole lot. Just don't make a mistake. Don't turn the ball over. And they ran the ball a ton with Antoine Smith that year. And so he was kind of a game manager the first Super Bowl that Tom Brady won. So you can almost compare Peyton Manning to the early years of Tom Brady.
And let's give Peyton Manning this one thing. 4 Super Bowls, 2 different franchises, 4 different head coaches, and not one of them is Bill Belichick, as far as I can see. I mean, good coaches, solid coaches, and all, but that's the one thing Brady always had with him was he had Belichick. And Belichick had Brady, But 4 times, 4 coaches, done it in different ways every time. And this time, basically, they kind of carried him to there, but I am not counting him out.
This whole legacy stuff drives me crazy. Oh, if he doesn't win this game, his legacy. Are you kidding me? This guy's legacy is one of the greatest players in NFL history, win or lose on Sunday.
Yeah,
so
one game doesn't change.
One game is not going to change that at all.
I heard Kurt Warner talk about this, and he said, I could arguably be a play away from being 3-0, 2-1, I'm 1-2. He goes, it's just kind of the way. His point was the hardest thing to do as a quarterback is get a team to the Super Bowl. And he's done it, and he was giving Kelly and a lot of other quarterbacks credit for doing it. Because you get in the game and almost look at the way the game ended last year. What does that have to do with Tom Brady at the end of that play, a dumb call by the Seahawks?
We're talking Super Bowl 50. This is the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. We'll be back. The Hillside family of agencies works with youth and families on their own terms, helping them pursue their own goals, whether at home, work, school, or one of the Hillside campuses, offering encouragement and commitment, standing with families, helping to create a healthy future. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. This portion of the Press Box is brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. I want to run a theory by you guys, especially you two, because you know the Bills-Giants Super Bowl. I see this cast the same way. As Denver is the Giants, the defensive-oriented team, the brash Buffalo Bills, the brash Carolina Panthers. I see a lot of things coming together similar to those two matchups. What do you guys think?
Well, I like that theory. I hope it comes true. Because if you've got the Broncos as the Giants, I want the Broncos to win a close game and send Manning off on his way. So, yeah, it is interesting, though. You're right. Carolina, like I said in the first segment, they are the up-and-coming team. They are brash. They're young. They're explosive. They've been a team of destiny all year. I mean, Atlanta stands in the way of a perfect season for these guys of all teams, which is kind of a shame. But, yeah, I just think they've played so well, especially in the playoffs in these first halves. They're going to be tough to stop. But I think Denver, cast in that role as the Giants, Wade Phillips will come up with something.
Phillips as Belichick.
And I think it could be a game. I think a lot of things have to go well for Denver to stay in it, though. I think they've got to do something on offense, and they will have to be great on defense. But I do think it's possible.
Yeah, and the crowd is a big impact in this. I mean, I look at that last game, and the reason I thought Denver had a shot was strictly because they were at home. I think if that game was in Foxborough, they lose by 2 touchdowns because New England can do a lot of things. It's one thing Sal knows, and there is no real crowd at the Super Bowl. It is not loud. How often do you have a memory of a Super Bowl where somebody's telling the crowd to be quiet? It's pretty rare because you don't get that. And I think that really helped the Denver defense. They won't have that. I think Carolina will be able to audible when they need to be. I think that'll help them a little bit. But I'm with you. If this game stays close in the beginning, I think that's going to build, and maybe there'll be a little frustration because everything has kind of gone Carolina's way. They had a little setback there when they almost blew the game to Seattle, but besides that, it's just kind of gone their way, and we'll see how they handle a little adversity.
You mentioned the loud Super Bowl. The only play or time I can remember is 2 years ago when the ball goes over Manning's head.
Yeah.
Seattle obviously traveled a bunch of fans in New York City. That ball goes over Peyton Manning's head, and that game was over after the first play.
Give me a prediction.
I'm going with Carolina. I just think they're the better overall team, and as much as I was impressed by Denver's defense against New England, this Carolina team is just a machine offensively, and I think that they have the pieces in order to take advantage score enough points. I think Peyton Manning's going to struggle to score against Carolina because their weakness is really in their secondary. I don't know that he can exploit the secondary with his arm, so I'm going to go with the Panthers, but I do think it's tight. What, the number is 6? I think it's less than that. So I'll say 24-20.
Sal, how do you see it?
Yeah, I've got Carolina winning. I'm thinking like a 27-16 game, but I'm thinking like Carolina puts it away late. Like I think they'll hang in there for a good chunk of it, and then maybe look at the late touchdown and take care of it. But Danny's right. I don't see Denver doing a whole lot on offense. Manning has really struggled to push the ball downfield. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for Manning, too. I know it works in the reverse, too, but still. He is the quarterback who right now I don't trust as much. Cam Newton can pretty much do it all. He can do everything. I think he'll make enough plays against this really good defense, and I think Carolina wins it by, like I said, about 27-16.
Colin Cowherd came up with a stat that said the Carolinas played a little bit on the soft side when they've had the extra week. Well, how do you see it?
Yeah, I don't know if that – the only thing I would say is coaching staff-wise, I think I would side with Denver. More experienced, guys that have been around a little bit longer. I think it's a close game. I love what Newton has done this year. I know he's got a lot of detractors. I think he's been great. I think he loves big moments. I think he'll have some big moments. My worry for Carolina is when it does go bad, and it always does in the Super Bowl. Yep. Something big happens the
You're
wrong
right.
way.
They've had no adversity so far.
They really haven't, and when it does, let's see how they do. I'm going to take Denver. I'm going to take Denver to win the game 24-20. I think kind of some of the things we're saying is the same things that were being said going into the New England game. I mean, New England's offenses can be spectacular, and they shut down Gronk. They really did till that big play at the end. I'm going to take Denver in the upset. I got them 24-20. Same score Danny has, just in reverse.
You're all in, by the way, with the regular season championship picking the games. It's all or nothing now on the Super Bowl.
Oh, really? So. It's like a double or nothing here? All right, I'm doubling down on Peyton Manning. And please, Peyton, I'm going to give you the win here and then retire. I want him to walk away.
All right, so I'm going to take my analogy right to the end. I'm going 2019 Denver. I'm going to say it's the same.
2019.
So who's going to miss the 47-yarder? Who would that be then?
Well, I don't know. I won't go play-by-play.
Oh, okay.
But I'll stick with the score. So I got Denver. I like the analogy. It says I can be like, I'll be immortal if I get this right. This is the original Rochester Press Box. This portion brought to you by the Hillside family of agencies. Like it or not, when we return. As we go to break, it is time for the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Is called Turnbull at 343-2005. As we come back from the break, time for the answer to the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Just call 343-2005. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back. This is the original Rochester Press Box. This portion of the Press Box being brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. It's like it or not, Mike, Johnny Manziel.
I hate it. And you know, I liked him as a college player. I didn't mind him being a little brash. I didn't mind that at all. Go play. And I actually thought with the right frame of mind, he could do well in the NFL. I thought it would take him a little while because I thought he could actually throw the football as opposed to, compared to Tebow and everything else. But I thought he could. But don't give me any of this garbage that he's just trying to get out of Cleveland. Nobody does this much. He has napalmed his way through the NFL. I don't see why a team would take a chance on him now. I really don't. I know they will, but I don't see why they would. The guy, I would feel for him if you heard that, he was home, he was drinking, he really has an issue, he can't do it. He's going out to clubs, he's going out partying, it's just whatever he's got going on with his ex-girlfriend. The guy really seriously needs help. And I do not like one bit of it, and I think he has ruined his career, and I don't see it turning around.
I think it's almost amusing how Cleveland couldn't wait to make this announcement,
Yeah.
It's a month out, so it's
Yeah. Well, you knew as soon as they changed coaches that he was going to be done. There was no way the new staff was keeping Johnny
But your
Manziel.
point about the announcement is basically like, look, the first second we can officially do this, he is gone. So they can do it for the cap. Yeah, he'll be gone.
Has he got any support amongst the people you talk to every day?
I mean, it's interesting because you mentioned Tim Tebow, and this isn't fair to compare Tebow to Manziel in this sort of situation, but because of the attention he brings, if you're a team, do you really want to bring him in that sort of a situation too? Part of the reason why I think Tebow stopped getting chances is He's going to be a third-string quarterback. You're going to end up with ESPN showing up just to cover your fourth-string, third-string quarterback. Do you want that with a backup? Do you want your backup having that much attention?
Yeah.
And whatever team signs Johnny Manziel, you're kind of getting the same thing. And what are the chances of him actually working out?
And your backup needs to be ready to go. It really should be seen but not heard, right?
Yes.
That's what you want. And that's why I think when you look at guys, I think Robert Griffin this year, for whatever reason, has stayed quiet and ready to go. I think a team's much more willing to take a shot with him than they are with Manziel.
Sal, like it or not, the CTE scare, which kind of fits into the article you wrote this week with O.J. Simpson, who has now been linked by that doctor to perhaps have been suffering from this when the crimes were committed. What's this going to do for the future of pro football, you think?
Well, I can't imagine a world without pro football. I don't think any of us can. It's too much of a monster. There are always going to be guys who are going to want to play football and not care about the risk. There was a story we just ran in the paper. They interviewed a bunch of guys out there, and they're not worried about it. They think it's like, hey, it's not going to happen to me. And a lot of guys now, but a lot of these young kids don't understand. And I think it is a case-by-case basis. I don't think every player who ever played football will end up with CTE and die or whatever. But it is going to affect some of these guys. And a lot of these kids really don't understand it. But do I think the future of pro football is going to be altered? No, because there's always going to be kids who are going to play this game. There's just no way it's going away.
Well, just quickly, though, the numbers of the entries are like they're decreasing, and
they are decreasing.
We've got pro
you're right.
players retiring earlier.
The youth leagues, there has been, because the parents have gotten involved now.
Yeah.
So I get that. But I still think the elite of the elite are going to keep playing this game.
We supply the NHL with basically a few different regions of the country. Go down to Alabama, Florida, Texas, and all. It is a long way off before those kids stop playing. Plus, the other part you're going to see a lot more, all the concussions in other sports. I mean, I know kids playing youth hockey. Just talked to a parent the other day. Her kid, 13 years old, has been diagnosed already with 2 concussions. He's done playing hockey. It's not the only sport that you have that could eventually lead to these problems.
Yeah. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished Business is next. The Rochester Press Box Stat of the Week, brought to you by Cariglio's Pizza, with 5 locations serving the Rochester area. Visit carigliospizza.com today.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
The new caramel macchiato at Dunkin' Donuts. Let handcrafted layers of espresso, milk, and caramel-flavored swirl uplift your mood. Indulge in a hot or iced macchiato today. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back. This is the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. It's unfinished business. Danny, start us.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about quarterbacks leading up to this Super Bowl, obviously Cam Newton and Peyton Manning, but I want to talk about another quarterback, John Elway. John Elway, the GM of the Denver Broncos. He's been there now for a few seasons. He's gotten them to 2 Super Bowls, and he's done so in completely different ways during this salary cap era. And more often than not, when we see these great players get into these roles, they end up blowing it big time. I mean, just look at how bad Michael Jordan was with the Wizards and how bad he's been in Charlotte. But you look at guys like Jerry West, a guy like Ozzie Newsome in the NFL, and you start comparing those guys to a guy like John Elway now. Because, well, the first Super Bowl, Peyton Manning was leading the #1 offense in the league. This Super Bowl, they've got the #1 defense in the league. That was only 2 years apart. To have that sort of turnover in this salary cap era, and to do so and keep the team at the top level that it's been over the last couple of seasons, that's pretty impressive. So John Elway, more than just a quarterback, he's been a heck of a GM too, something we don't often see from great players.
Yeah. Sal?
The NFL just never knows when to stop. I don't understand why the Super Bowl has become a Hollywood event. This is a football game that has become a circus. And the newest addition this year, Super Bowl opening night. So the big media day that usually took place on Tuesday morning, where you're supposed to go ask football players football questions and cover the game, has turned into a circus with bands and fans being asked to pay $27 a ticket to sit in the stands and watch the media make fools of themselves on the floor of the arena in San Jose. Why can't the NFL ever be satisfied? They have the number one product in sports in all the world, and they have to keep adding layers and layers of nonsense. I'm not out in San Francisco covering this game, and I'll tell you what, I'm more than happy to be sitting right here with these guys and watching the circus on TV.
Because if there's a buck to be made, right?
Oh, that's the NFL. That's what they do. Hey, speaking of the Super Bowl and all that goes on with it, Eugene Robinson talked to the Carolina Panthers this week. Maybe you remember that name. Eugene Robinson is the color analyst, former NFL player for Carolina. But he's most known at the Super Bowl for what happened to him when he was one of the stars, one of the leaders of the Atlanta Falcons. And the night before the Super Bowl, he was arrested for soliciting a prostitute. And he apologized to his team, but the damage was done. Atlanta ended up losing that Super Bowl, in part because they didn't have him in the secondary for that game, or he was there, but he wasn't the player that he should have been because of what had happened the night before. He was the cautionary tale. I give him credit for making this known to the players because he says he loves this Panthers team and doesn't want to see them do something stupid the night before a game. We saw it with some of the Bills during those Super Bowl years. Guys, it's a big week for you. Everything is great for you, but your mindset has to be on the game. You may only get one and only chance to do this. Be good as best you can leading into the biggest game of your life.
Yeah, enjoy the game, guys. This is going to be fun. This portion of the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Danny, thank you. We'll do it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike?
Thank you.
And Sal, master of all media. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week with the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House.